Okay, it's a quick video for myself, Harvey Goldman. No cuts, no edits, no filters, and no hair. So for today's video, it's a quick one about why every pound you spend makes somebody else rich, but not you. So let's get into it. So you're working harder than ever. I know I am, and I seem to have an ever-increasing number of side hustles and extra jobs just to meet the same living. But if anything, I feel like I'm still getting poorer. It's a madness. So this video is basically an explanation and an exploration of how consumer capitalism, I guess, operates against the average buyer in everyday transactions. So you've got basically consumer debt cycles. So these are high interest credit options and things like buy now, pay later schemes that can trap people in debt. They can actually lead to you getting into further debt. A lot of it's psychological because it's easy to press a button and do an option where it's pay in 4 or it's pay in 12 months or whatever it might be. And you don't feel like you've actually spent any money, but that debt is still sat there in the background. So that can then enable you to make more purchases. It might be that you bought a telly. It might be that you then go and buy a couch. It might be that you then decide to refit your entire living room. And before you know it, you've got about £3 sat there on buy now, pay later, or deferred payments, or deferred interest, whatever it might be. And you still don't feel as if you've spent a penny, which makes it very easy to keep spending. The credit lenders aren't stupid. They know this, and that's part of the reason that they promote these in such a way, because they know that people will fall victim to it, and sadly, many people are easily led. You've got marketing psychology, obviously, which plays into this massively, and companies use full-on psychological warfare to encourage people to spend beyond their means. So, obviously, credit lending and such is a big part of this. E-commerce massively does it. If you've ever bought anything on Amazon or most retail websites, you've got the pop-up that says that customers who bought this item that you're about to buy have also bought these 2 items. Or you see upsells and cross-sells popping up. Many times they happen on your way to the checkout. So you've put the item in your basket, and you're ready to pay, and then you'll get a pop-up that will say, you sure you don't want this? You'll swipe it away. Then you'll get another pop-up that'll say, well, what about this? What about some added insurance or everything else? And these are basically little attacks on your psyche to try and get you to click that button, and obviously to increase the revenue that the vendor is making from your cart. There is also the abandoned cart syndrome that a lot of websites go to, and very often I've put a product, it might be gym clothing or something like that, into a shopping cart, and then I've thought better of it and thought, well, actually, I've got 5 pairs of gym shorts and t-shirts. Do I really need it? And I've simply swiped the website away. And then usually within an hour, you get an email that will say something like, we've noticed that you've not bought the item. Would you like a 5% discount? However, it's conditional on you spending more than £50. And it might be the original item was only a tenner or something like that. So again, it's kind of coercing people through marketing psychology to spend extra to get a very sort of infinitesimal amount back off their spend. And it might, in many cases, only amount to the equivalent of free postage, or sometimes even less than. Subscription models are obviously massive. Recurring payments for things like, gym memberships and online services like Netflix and Prime and everything else. These can accumulate very easily unnoticed, and it does impact your personal finances. And it's very easily done. For example, I've had it myself where I use Amazon Prime, and within Amazon Prime, you've got other channels, like you might have Paramount, for example, which isn't free, but they do offer maybe a 7-day trial. So I've then said, yeah, I'd like a 7-day trial, knowing that I'm going to try and cancel it after 5 days, maybe because there's a film on there that I want to see. So I sign up to the free trial, watch the film, fantastic. Life happens, I get distracted, and of course they rely on this, of course they do. And then 6 days, 7 days later, £15 has gone out of my account, and I'm like, bugger, I really didn't want to have Paramount for the next 3 months. But there you go. And then you're locked into it, and because you've not opted out, you've not cancelled, they've got you over a barrel. The money's gone, and there's nothing that you can do. So subscription models, they do need to be kept in check. They're very easy to let get out of control. And gym memberships is another big one. Very popular amongst gym bros and gym gals would be the term January people. And these are the people that sign up for their New Year's resolution to the gyms, 50% off for 3 months, that kind of offer if you take out a year's membership. They'll take out the year's membership, fully believing that they are going to stick with it. They'll do it for a couple of weeks, realise that it is actually hard work and there are no shortcuts, and that you can't out-train McDonald's. And then, of course, their subscription just runs. And very often they forget to cancel it. That could be 30, 40, £50 a month in some cases, depending on your gym. Another big one that I've noticed, especially because I'm into gadgets and I'm into tech, although I've trained myself to no longer covet the very latest tech, which has been an absolute bane throughout my 20s and 30s, is planned obsolescence. Now, Apple are massive on this. And basically, products are now designed with a limited lifespan. And it might be because the components are cheap or they're just not very reliable. And I kind of think back to when I was a kid and I used to go around to my nan's. On a Sunday, my nan would cook us Sunday lunch, and she had a chest freezer that was actually outside. It was outside in what used to be a coal shed, I think. And we used to go out there and get ice creams. That was our little treat, going to the chest freezer to get an ice cream of a Sunday as a sort of 6-year-old. And that freezer was about 20 years old when I was 6, and I swear to God that she had that freezer for about 30, maybe 35 years, probably well into my teens, maybe even my 20s. She still had that same freezer. It never needed any repairs, it never broke down. It used to be noisy as hell, but it still worked. And I think about the number of freezers that I've bought in my lifetime alone. I've probably been through 7, maybe 8 fridge freezers since my 20s. So if you do the math on that, probably about every 3 or 4 years, I'm in for a new freezer. The same goes for washing machines. The same goes for dishwashers. The same goes for tumble dryers. And if you rack up these costs just on household white goods that have got planned obsolescence built in, without even considering things like mobile phones, iPads, laptops, and then the fact that the apps that are released on these don't work for the full life of the item. So yes, you can have an iPhone 3. It may still run, it may still work, but the kind of ecosystem that the apps run on, you can't run modern apps on it. They just don't work. They won't work on anything older maybe than an iPhone 11, which is kind of 7 years on. So planned obsolescence is massive, and it never used to be a thing. But now, of course, companies have figured that they can entice people through clever marketing, through psychology, through easy payment options to have that brand new phone that really doesn't do anything different than your last phone every single year. So I've got 2 phones. I've got an iPhone 14, which is at this point, 3 years old. And I've got a Galaxy, it's an S23, which is at this point probably again about 2.5, 3 years old. I'm not going to be changing those phones literally until my apps stop working or until I break them. So I'm hoping that I'll have these phones for about another 2 or 3 years. But planned obsolescence is real. And of course, items designed with such limited lifespans, or those that have ecosystems and infrastructures that again are limited, which then affects the item. This encourages frequent replacement, which again increases your spending. You've got supply chain profits. Now, a significant portion of consumer spending benefits the intermediaries and the shareholders rather than the actual producers. It is a madness. It is a madness. But what are your thoughts on this? How has this affected you? How has it affected your day-to-day life? As I said, I know for myself, I've had to make a conscious decision not to go out and buy the latest of everything, not to try and keep up with the Joneses. And it has saved me a little bit of money. And I don't feel, in my opinion, that my life has degraded or that I've been left out in any way, shape, or form by having a 3-year-old phone. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong, and maybe there are things that these new gadgets can do that I really would make use of. Who knows? Drop it in the comments to let me know. So YouTube's going to put another video there. Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz, and there'll be another video tomorrow. Goldman, peace out.